Now that you have finished your weaving, it is time to remove it from your cardboard loom. This is an example of what it could look like once you remove it. So you'll see I've taken it off. The cardboard is no longer here. This is what the back of mine currently looks like. And I also put different types of fringe or tassels at the bottom, which will be up to you to decide what you would like to do. So go ahead and get your cardboard loom. Now here is an example that I did. And the first step that we want to do is tie together any of your tails that you added when you needed to add color. So here I had a piece of blue, and this was another piece of blue yarn that I added. So I'm just going to bring them together and tie a regular knot. And you just need to do that once. It doesn't have to be super tight. That is enough. Okay? If you've got a whole bunch of them along the sides, just go ahead and tie those when it's the same color. All right? After you have tied the strings in all the areas where you had to add a new color, you're going to take the tails and you're going to feed them through the first loop or the last loop. So all along here we have these loops, and then right here these loops. So I'm going to start off and do the very first tail that I had. I like to take the yarn needle and put the yarn needle first. So I'm going to come in and go inside of the loops. So you see how the yarn needle is inside? And sometimes I will twist the needle so that way it goes through. Now as long as you can get it through at least 3 to 4 loops, so 1, 2, 3, 4 loops there, that is enough. I'm going to push the needle through, and then I'm going to take the last tail that I had, and I'm going to put it through the eye of the needle. Okay, once that is in, now do this very carefully. You'll notice that the eye of the needle is much wider than the needle itself. Right here, this area is pretty wide and it's thin here, so you might have a little trouble pulling it through. Use your fingers to bring one layer of yarn over at a time until you get everything through. So now this part is through. Okay, but if I keep pulling it, I'm going to be tugging over here. So I'm going to come in and then with my finger just pull this one. Instead of pulling them both through, I'm only pulling one of them through. Okay, once that's through, pat this down. I'm going to bring my scissors and come really close to where the yarn came out and cut it. And then it's going to fall back in. So that was the first one. Next I have right here is these two that I did the color adding. So I'm going to go again through the same loop because you're going to be going through either the first or the last one. I'm going to put my yarn needle in again, and this time I'm going to try to go through a couple more. I'm going to go through 2 extra ones. Okay, I'm going to slide my needle and I'm going to bring in my tail, put it through the eye of the needle, and I'm going to pull through one at a time. Be very careful. You do not want your warp string to rip. Okay, now that it's through, I'm going to come in and pull. Alright, it's out. Now I can lower this again and fix it up. And I'm going to come in and snip very closely and carefully. And now this one is finished as well. Alright, same thing. I would do this one as well. Now, there are 2 examples that I want to show you now. Some of you, for your weaving, it looks like this. You've got one color loops on top here, and then the other colors in the back. So do you see how my blue is on top and my pink is on the bottom? Because that is if you chose not to loop both colors around each other, which is fine. Some of you decided to loop both your colors together like this. Do you see how the blue is going through the pink and they're together, and there isn't a second layer in the back there? Okay, there's nothing in the back here, it's just a one layer, but this one has two. Whichever way you chose to do it is fine. When you are looping your tails through, it'll look a little different. So let's start with this one here. Since I have, let's see, 3 blue in the front and then 2 in the back, you can actually catch the front color and the back color, meaning you can go through the front color, so that will be the blue, and then you can decide to go through a back color. So do you see how I went through 2 blues and then 1 pink? Okay. If you wanted to, you could try to go through blue, pink, and then the other pink. Okay. But if you've got those extra loops in the back because of your second color, and there are a lot of them, I recommend that you go through some of the loops in the back, just so that way those back loops will get tied together. So I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to push the needle. I'm going to take this tail and feed it through the eye of my needle. Okay, so I have that. Now I'm going to gently push this through. Alright, once I've got it out a little bit, I'm going to come and pull the rest of it out. Alright, and now I can snip it pretty close, and now that one is gone too. So what about if you have this on your side? You did the loops and you have all these. I've got this blue one here, this tail, and I'm going to bring this blue one down actually. The tails that are towards the bottom should always go up, and the ones that are at the top should face down. The tails that are in the middle, you can decide which way you want to go. Do you want it to go up or down through your loops? This one I'm going to pull down, and I'm also going to be pulling the pink one down. Now, because these loops are here, you'll notice how these loops come in this direction, while those loops go in this direction. If I put my needle through, I'm actually going to come through only the blue, not the pink. So I'm going to come in, let's see, this is where it came out of, so I'm going to start with this one down here. So you see how this blue yarn is from here. So I'm going to start with the next one. I'm going to come in here. I'm actually going to turn it around so that way it's easier for me to view. I'm going to come in here. Okay. And I'm going to twist. I'm just going to keep going. Okay, and I exit it out right there. So I'm going to pull this through and then put the blue inside. Okay, now that the blue is in the eye of the needle, I'm going to pull the needle through. Okay, you see how I'm taking one loop at a time and pushing it over? That is how you want to do it. You don't want to do everything all at once because then something can snap. And then once I get this loop here, I'm going to find which one is this one. So you see how this one is this string? If I kept on pulling this one, okay, if I kept pulling this here, you notice that the weaving is going to start to pull. So I'm going to come here and pull this one. Take out the yarn needle, okay, and snip real close. Okay. And now that tail is gone too. And remove the tape carefully. You had 2 pieces of tape at the beginning, remove them both. Okay. Now you're going to take a pair of scissors, and do this very carefully. You are going to cut all of the warp strings through the middle, like this. After you have cut all the warp strings in the back, carefully turn your board over. We're going to do this one side at a time. So do the bottom first and then do the top, and only take 2 strings at a time. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to pull out 2 strings. 1, 2. And then I'm going to tie a knot 2 times. Just a basic regular knot. So this is 1. And this is 2. Make sure they are tight, specifically that second knot. Okay? Once that's done, pull it over to the side and then grab the next 2. You'll notice that your weaving starts to come up off the board, so be very careful. Do not pull up all the strings at once. Only pull up 2 at a time. If you pull them all out, the entire thing can come apart. So 1, 2 knots. I'm going to put that to the side. And you're going to keep going all of these 2 at a time, and then you're going to turn your board around and do all of these.